This is Shirlane Sando, and I want to welcome you to the Southern Gal's Kitchen today. We have a really special show for you again. We're doing brunch casseroles. We're going to do an egg sausage brunch casserole, and we're going to do a apple cinnamon French toast casserole. They're both delicious. One's obviously the sweeter kind, and one's the more savory. But they're both good for brunches. They're good for weeknight dinners. I especially like to do the egg casserole for Friday night dinners, which is what I'm doing today. We're going to eat it tonight. But both of them can be weeknight things. Most people serve the cinnamon toast more as when you have brunch or when you have company. It's kind of rich, but it's awfully good. But the egg casserole you can serve any time of the year, not just on holidays and special occasions, but it's just good for weeknight dinners too. I know you're going to love this show, so we'll be back in a minute, and I hope you join us. Casserole, it's really simple. I preheated my oven to 350 and we're going to cook it 50 to 55 minutes. We have 3 cups of cubed bread, and what I did, I had made homemade rolls the other day, and I had exactly 2 crescent rolls left. I broke those up into little pieces, and then I finished up with bread, and I used a low carb bread. You can use whatever you want, but on the bread, take the crust off. You don't have to take it all off. I took most of it off. But about 3 cups of bread cubes, and we're going to pour those in a bowl. And we have a cup of cheese. We're going to pour that in. It's grated cheddar cheese is what you want. Grated cheddar cheese. Now, we're going to make this size bowl. It's not a really big bowl. It's about a 10-inch by 7-inch. And so that's what I'm going to bake mine in. If you wanted a large 9 by 13, just double this recipe. And I'm using sausage, but you can also use bacon, or you can use bacon and sausage. But we have our bread and our cheese. We're going to mix those together. Just kind of stir them around. And then we're going to we have a cup and a half of milk. I used almond milk. You can use regular milk if you want to, but I like the almond milk. That's what I like to use. And you could use, like I said, any kind of milk, artificial milk, whatever you wanted on that. And then we have 3 eggs, slightly beaten here. I'll put those in the milk. Just beat them up a little bit. Then we have a 1/4 teaspoon of ground pepper, 1/2 teaspoon of salt, just regular salt, and a teaspoon of ground mustard. And that's going to give us the flavoring. And I'm going to put in a 1/4 teaspoon of thyme, dried seasoning. I get thyme out of my garden, and I grind it up and keep it all year. But you can buy thyme in the store. You can buy the powdered thyme, whatever you want. And just kind of whisk this together. So we've got our bread and our cheese here and our wet mixture here. And we're going to put these together and add our sausage. We'll just stir this in here, and then we'll add the sausage. I used about 1/2 pound of sausage, and I had very lean sausage. If you had greasy, kind of fattier sausage, you probably would want to set that aside. You probably would want to drain the grease off, but this happens to be very lean, and I've got over 1/2 pound here, so I'm not going to use it all. But I've already ground it and crumbled it up, and I'm going to use most of it, and the rest of it I actually have another place to use it. So I went ahead and browned it up, and I can use it though later. All right, we're just going to mix this up. I mean, this is like a 5-minute supper once you get your sausage ground out and your bread cut up. It's not even 5 minutes. It's very quick to make, and it's good to let this set. If you can let this set in the refrigerator, you can mix this part up right here, put it in the refrigerator overnight. I'm not doing that tonight because we're going to eat this for dinner. It's Friday night dinner around here, and I'm just going to let it soak up a little bit, maybe 20-30 minutes. hard was that? That was easy. All right, pour it in here. And again, I'm going to let this set just for a little bit. You could put this in the dish just like this. If you wanted to do this for a weekend Sunday brunch kind of thing or breakfast, you can mix this up, put plastic wrap on it, put it in your fridge overnight. And it really works well that way because it does need to soak up a little bit. Again, I'm going to let mine just sit here for a little bit and then I'm going to cook it. And then we'll come back and we'll do some tasting with it. Going to have some fruit salad with my casserole because I love fruit with casserole. And so I have 2 cups of strawberries here. I got out of the freezer. They were whole. I put them up some time ago and I just sliced them up just into slices. And I have 2 cups of blueberries that I had in my freezer. So I'm just going to mix them. I love strawberries and blueberries, and most people do. They just really go well together with the fruit salad. This is still partially frozen. And I actually love it that way, but by the time we eat, it'll be more thawed because that has to bake 50-55 minutes. But it'll still be a little frozen, and I like that. And I might put a little whipped cream on here. I might too, wouldn't it? But what I'm going to talk about here, though, this part's easy. You can put bananas with that. You can do different kinds of fruit, obviously, for fruit salad. But I'm going to talk about this. I mixed up 3 cups of regular sugar, 3 cups of artificial sweetener. That cuts down my sugar 50%. I see a lot of these things in the stores. It says 70% less calories or whatever. But when I looked at the carbs, and I have to watch the carbs, it's the same amount of carbs in that as there is in regular sugar. So I mix my own 50-50 because I like a little bit of sugar, but I like the artificial too to cut the carbs. And I'll keep this in a jar. And I'll label the lid or label the side, and I'll just put that in there. I could dump it in there, but I'd probably make a mess, so I'm going to do this. But that way, then I've got my artificial lower carb sugar with artificial sweetener already mixed up. And I just keep it in a jar when I need it, and just get what I need out. That's why I do 3. You could do 4 cups. If you have a quart jar, this is bigger than a quart. You might just want to do 2 cups, 2 cups. But mix them up in a bowl so you can get them really mixed up well, and then put them in your container. And you've got your own lower carb sugar and lower calories, I guess too. I didn't look at the calories so much, but I did look at the carbs, and I know this is lower carb because we cut the carbs in about half. This is really easy to mix up. Keep on hand in your pantry. Put the lid on it. It's ready to go. We're going to use some of this in our fruit here. So I'm going to put, I don't know, maybe a 1/4 cup in. You can always add more. I like to let it set for a little while and see what it tastes like, if it's sweet enough. And if I need more, I'll add more to it. But if I don't need more and it's good the way it is, I'll just leave it the way it is. You know, some people like them sweeter than others, and I kind of like it a little bit sweet. Some people just do the strawberries and blueberries without any sugar. I like a little bit of sweetness in there myself. So I just put that, but that's about a 1/4 cup. And we'll let that set, kind of macerate and soak up the sugar and soften. Let it thaw out a little bit more, and then we'll see how it tastes. If I need any more sweetener, I'll add it. We'll come back and try our casserole when it's done. Now that we've made our egg sausage casserole, we're going to work on the apple cinnamon French toast casserole. These are great for buffets. This one especially, both of them are good for buffets, but this one is often used at especially Christmas, Thanksgiving, Easter, kind of buffet kind of things, but they're good at any Sunday brunch dinner. If you have Sunday brunch dinners at church or anything like that, they'd be good for that. We're going to use 4 cups of breadcrumbs, and I've got this is a 4-cup measure. You just I used brioche bread. You can use French, like a loaf of French bread. Probably for this size, a 1/2 loaf is all you need. I used, like I said, you want 4 cups of bread, whether it's brioche or French. We're going to just dump that into our greased square pan. You can use an 8x8 or a 9x9 and just put it in there and just kind of nestle it in. And then we're going to pour custard over, and then we're going to do a streusel topping with pecans. Doesn't get any better than that. Let's set this aside. I have 4 eggs here, and I've already started to beat them. I'm going to beat them just a little bit more. Need to be kind of freshened up here a little bit. Now we're going to add to this. This is just our kind of custard topping. We've got a 1/2 cup of sugar. Now let me tell you about my sugar. I talked about it with the egg casserole with the white sugar. This is my brown sugar mixture. 1/2 brown sugar and 1/2 of my artificial sweetener. This really works well. Again, I keep the brown sugar mixture mixed up, and I keep the white sugar. And then these are low, half the carbs of just use plain sugar. You can use just all sugar if you want to. It's not a problem. I'm gonna set this over here. It's not a problem at all. But if you're like me and you want to cut some carbs or calories, then mix your 1/2 and 1/2. I have found it's the best way to do it, because when I do things that I buy, if I use all alternative, I'm not always as happy with it. You could do that, but it's going to change the taste. So we got a 1/2 cup of my brown sugar blend. We've got a tablespoon of vanilla. We've got a teaspoon of cinnamon. And we're going to put more spice even beyond that in our topping. A cup of almond milk. You can use whole milk, which is often what people use. I like almond milk, and it's what I have on hand, and so that's what I use. And then 1/4 cup of heavy cream. Get that all out of there. I don't want to waste any of it. It's too good. The heavy cream really makes it rich. Really, with the brioche bread, which is very rich, and the sugars and the cream, it's a really rich dessert. So just keep in mind, you're not going to eat it that often. So we're going to mix this custard up and just kind of blend it. That's all we've got to do there. Take 1 minute. You just want to whip it until it's well mixed. And then we're going to pour this over the custard over the bread. And this is the part we need to let set. Either cover it in plastic wrap and let it set overnight, or let it set, 3 to 4 hours. Really, that works best for the egg. I let it set about an hour, and it was great. So you won't have so the goal is for the bread to soak up the egg, and so you want it all to mix in there. Mix this up really well. Get the bread pushed down in there, and that needs to soak up. It already smells like cinnamon, which is a good smell. But I like brioche bread. If I'm going to eat something this rich, I'm going to go ahead and use whole hog on it. I'm going to use the more richer bread, but I have made it with French bread. It's almost like a bread pudding, and I've often used French bread for bread pudding. Regular bread can be a little soft. I've heard you can do that. I've never tried it really. But this is brioche sliced bread. It's a little bit soft too, so maybe it's all the same. But again, cover this in plastic wrap, let it set an hour, better 3 or 4 hours. And I'm going to let this set about 4 really. Then cover it with plastic wrap and put it in the fridge. Then I'll come back and we're going to add our apple and our streusel topping. I like the apple in it. You don't have to put the apple. You could even do other fruits. But some people don't put apple in. I like the apple in. It reminds me of an apple bread pudding that way, which I love. So I'm going to put the apple in mine. I've already cut up a couple of, I cut up 1 1/2 Granny Smith apples, kind of medium, and I've got a half there. I'll show you how to cut them up. So we'll be back in just a minute. The apple I cut up kind of small pieces because you want them to cook up well in there. If they're big chunks, they're not going to cook up. I just sliced these apples after I peeled and cooled them. You want to peel and cool them. And I put fresh fruit on these because I did some of it a while ago. You can put lemon on there too. And I cut them in little small pieces then. Keep your fingers turned under and keep them out of the way. This smells pretty sharp. and then we will add those to the top. What I do is I let my bread and egg custard not set up, but just set. And then I'll mix in the apples. And then I'll put on the topping. Those things will go last. Right before you bake it, you'll add your apples and your topping. So we will come back in a little bit, put all this together for you. Make our topping. We have a fourth a cup of regular AP flour in here, a fourth a cup of my brown sugar mixture, or you can use whatever sugar you want. We also have a half a teaspoon of cinnamon, and a fourth a teaspoon, I had in that, I'm sorry, it was a half a teaspoon of cinnamon, a fourth a teaspoon of cloves, and a very pinch of nutmeg. That was all in my cinnamon mixture. And then I've got about an eighth of a teaspoon of salt, which is obviously a tiny amount, but you take your fourth and just use half of it. And then we have a half stick of butter, and this is really softened because it's been sitting out. If it wasn't softened, you'd have to cut it up in little pieces, mix it in. And then I've got a half a cup of chopped pecans. So we're going to mix this all together, and then I'll put the pecans in. Because this butter, like I said, is so soft, it'll mix right in here. If you want to just let your butter set out for a while, that's the easiest way to do it. This will bake about 350 oven, about 45 minutes to an hour. I bake mine closer to the hour. I like it a little more set. If you want it softer, you could stop at 45-50 minutes. But I usually like a little bit of that topping to be kind of crunchy on this. All right, our casserole is out of the oven. It's really hot, so I'm going to pick it up and let you see it. It looks really good. This is a good size for us. It's not overly big. Again, if you had a big family, just double the recipe. I'm going to get a piece of this out, taste it, and have my fruit here. This fruit is perfect just with a fourth cup of sugar for me. But again, you make it the way you want it. You might like it a little sweeter than I do. And you might not put any sweetener in it at all. Blueberries and strawberries are really good for you. So you work them into your diet as much as you can. They're real hard to beat. Sometimes healthy food may not taste as good, but fruit is awesome. I'll wrap it roll enough here. I'm going to give it a little bite. This is hot, so I just took it out of the oven. I'm going to be careful with it. It is just perfect. Friday night dinner, Sunday brunch dinner, Wednesday night dinner. Really, anytime you wanted this, it'd be good. But people like to make them on the weekends because you have more time to have a breakfast and have a bigger meal. That's why I like it on Friday night or during the weeknight. If you'll try this recipe, make some fruit salad with it, and that's your meal. If you want anything else, you can add it, but for me, that's a great meal. Apple cinnamon toast casserole is out of the oven, and it just looks and smells amazing. It's cinnamon, apples, cloves, nutmeg. I mean, how good does it get? It reminds me of Christmas. It's just that kind of taste. It also reminds me of a bread pudding, an apple bread pudding. Very much like that, in fact. But it's got the pecans and the streusel topping on the top. It's got your cloves and cinnamon and nutmeg on the top and some cinnamon in it. This stuff is amazing. You need to give it a try. Your family's going to love it. It's a rich dessert. You're not going to eat much of it at a time. Don't need to eat much of it at a time. But that's why I like to make a square and not have so much of it left over that way. You would need several people just to eat this size because it is rich. You don't need a lot of it. But it surely is good. Hello, this is Shirlene Sando, and I hope you enjoyed our show today. We certainly enjoyed filming it for you. I hope you'll join us every Sunday afternoon at 3 p.m. Eastern on Mupo TV. We'd love to have you join us. Hit the like button, like us, and share if you will. We'd love to have you share it with your friends, family, and also hit the notification bell so you don't miss a single episode. We would love to hear from you, and we hope you'll join us every Sunday afternoon at 3 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Central. Thanks.